Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, see it and purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today we discuss the Richard Mille Imagine. Not one of the Dubois de Pras Vaucher hybrids, but a true Audemars Piguet Renault Papi assembled Richard Mille RM002. The Deuce. This watch, part of the series built from 2004 on, features the carbon fiber, or I should say carbon fiber nanofiber base plate, but a wonderfully wearable rose gold case, and I do mean wonderfully wearable. It's not oversized or garish at all. Lug to lug, this watch is only 44.7 millimeters, and in terms of thickness, it's only as thick as a Rolex Daytona. It's surprisingly slim at 12.4. Don't let the sheer side fool you. This is a thin watch, and you can absolutely wear it with a dress cuff. Across the case, it is 37.6 millimeters, which is to say all of the dimensions are quite delightful, and that's before we even talk about the shape of the case, which is wonderfully arced and cambered to fit around your wrist. The strap is of outstanding quality, natural vulcanized rubber. It's also well vented. You can see it features vent ports on both sides to keep the wrist aerated on a hot day. It's a substantial piece, and it even features a little bit of an intersection with the case flank that continues the hollows of the flank into the strap for a completely unencumbered, continuous, holistic look. The design is superb, and the continuity flows from part to part right down to the profile of the spline screw affixed pin buckle. Take a look at that. There's even a bevel on the flank of the buckle next to the spline screw, and you also have that identical combination of bevel and spline screw in the case construction. Design continuity runneth over, and it's custom, not just for the brand, but for the model, blazoned with RM002. Turn it all over, and you can see there's satin finish on the underside to contrast with the polished bevel of the flank. Now jumping back to the case, it's a very nicely finished case. Don't let the industrial aesthetic of Richard Mille fool you, especially with these Audemars Piguet built pieces. You have the same level of hand finish you'd find on something like a Royal Oak Concept. There's a beautiful rounded polished bevel that runs the entire circumference of the watch. The entire outside of the watch, both the facing and the backing plate, feature that hand-laid rounded bevel. And then you can see there's a vertical satin finish inboard with individual columns stepped out as the shafts through which the spline screws are driven. It has almost the appearance of the scaffolding of a skyscraper under construction, bringing the machine from the inside out. Now there is a satin finish. Get everything back in focus here. There's a satin finish across the hoods of the facing plate. You can see it contrasts nicely with the polished bevel on the sides. You have your titanium spline screws in contrasting matte finish, and then you have a sensational dial, and there is a lot going on this dial. So let's break it down. Outboard, or outermost, I should say, you have a carbon fiber flange. So you have a flange into which metallic indices bearing plots of superluminova have been inserted. So you have a carbon fiber flange as a chapter ring or Reha outboard, and it is fully loomed. Moving inboard a little bit, you can see that the watch is actually constructed with two sapphires, one which is very expensive, cambered and non-round. This must have been a nightmare to water seal. But Richard Mille, ambitious with one of its earliest grand complications. You can see the watch also features another sapphire just below that, onto which the numerals themselves are printed, and then you can also see the scales for the torque meter assembly that tells you how much torque the mainspring barrel is putting out, and then you have the time until zero, or the drop dead, the power reserve indicator that tells you absolutely how much longer the watch will run. Down at 6 o'clock you have a tourbillon making a 1-minute circuit. It's a 1-minute tourbillon beating away at 21,600 vibrations per hour. It does feature an overcoil, so between the overcoil, the 5-position adjustment like a chronometer of this movement, those three features, 5-position adjustment, overcoil, and tourbillon, doing a superb job of actually making this an accurate tourbillon that keeps superb time in any position, even on the wrist. Now the watch features a remarkably visible keyless works and motion works. You can see them on both sides. I'm going to show you. This is the motion works on the dial side. The watch is loomed. There will be a loom shot. You can see the barrel visible underneath a bridge for the complications at 12 o'clock. All of the finishes to the standard you would expect of a premier class Audemars Piguet. The watch actually features a clutch that changes the function of the crown. Richard Mille didn't want the vulnerability that comes with a crown and crown seals through which you repeatedly draw, withdraw, and return. So you have a stationary crown that doesn't actually move, and then you have a clutch and a clutch lever inside the crown, so you never have to withdraw the crown through its seals and risk the stem or the stem tube. Now, for example, I'm setting the watch. Now, the watch is in neutral mode. I'm not doing anything. And now I'm winding the watch, and you can see the power reserve up at 10 o'clock, as well as the torque meter assembly traversing. You can also see that the base plate of the movement is made of carbon fiber with nanotubes, and this is a very resilient, contemporary, and ultralight carbon fiber composite, and it's combined with a few choice grade 5 titanium elements on the back. I mentioned that the watch had a spectacular keyless works, and that you can see the entire keyless works, the setting system, and you can see there's actually a little star wheel with springs built in. If you look carefully, you can see that star wheel as I change the function of the crown, but that entire mechanism can be removed from the case back without unseating the rest of the movement or the dial for service when it goes back to Audemars Piguet. 30 joule manual wind, 78 to 80 hour power reserve. You can see the elements are all hand finished with black polish and then inset frosted finish. You'll also appreciate the fact that this is true high horology finish, and all of the individual spline screws, the Richard Mille spline screws, they've been black polished here. 50 meters water resistant. This is a true high horology Audemars Piguet APRP movement, the same as you would get in an AP, and you even get some of the craft traditions inherent in the old Valet de Jeu. As you can see that there is actually a chaton fixing the jewel at center. You can see screw-fixed chaton as you would find in a 19th century pocket watch. This is the best Richard Mille has to offer, and this is actually the RM002 version 2 movement with the carbon fiber base plate into which metal threads have been inserted and then the screws fixed in place. It's an immensely complex fabrication, and you can see that even the crystal on the case back has been cambered to trace the arc of the case back and the arc of your wrist. No money was saved, no corners were cut here. This is Richard Mille at its best. Audemars Piguet Renault et Papy movement, Volgine case, and one of the strongest brands in the watch industry. This is true luxury watchmaking at apex. Robustly shock resistant and swimmable, you're unlikely to find an APRP more hale and hardy than this timepiece. See it and make it yours on the watch box. Audemars Piguet RM002 by night, fully loomed.